Hello, friends and family. I'm just here for a quick video. I think we're about to have another snowstorm, believe it or not. How fun is that? So, today, actually, me and my family went out to celebrate my birthday, which is coming up in a little bit. So, I asked for early birthday situation. We didn't know a snowstorm was coming, so good thing we planned it this way, actually. But all I wanted for my birthday was to go out to this tea place that I absolutely love and then go to a bookstore, and my family members that were there, which was my brother and my mom, would just each buy me a book, and that's all I wanted for my birthday because I'm I'm trying. I just don't feel the need to have so much stuff anymore. I've been decluttering my life in a lot of ways, and I just don't feel the need for extra stuff. So like from my friends, I was just asking for like donations to organizations that I care about, and for my family, I was just like, just buy me a book because books are kind of the only thing that I really enjoy these days. So that being said, I kind of thought today I would talk about the books that I picked up and also books that I plan to maybe read this month. Some of them are kind of long, so they might go into March, but I thought we'd just have a little bit of a fun book chat because I love books. Okay. So we'll start with number one here, which I've already actually started. So I'm getting into The Hobbit again. This is actually, as you can see, a well-loved copy of The Hobbit. I've actually owned this since I was probably 16 or 17, somewhere around there. And I'm in my 30s now. So it's this book has been around for a long time because I think when I was 16, 15 or 16, I got into the Lord of the Rings, saw the movies and all that, and then and I was like, wait, there's books, and I needed the books. And for Christmas, I got an entire box set of the books. And of course, the actual books for the Lord of the Rings were all, because the movies were out at the time and a huge deal. Um, they have like movie covers on them. So like the Fellowship of the Ring has like, Elijah Wood as Frodo, and the Two Towers has Orlando Bloom as Legolas on the cover. And I think the Return of the King has Aragorn, on the cover, Viggo Mortensen. And as much as I generally hate movie covers on books because I prefer like whatever the book is supposed to look like, those ones are so precious to me that I will never get rid of them, no matter how beat up they are. So anyway, this was also in that collection of books, but because The Hobbit wasn't out at the time, obviously I got the beautiful originals. We got Gandalf going up there to beg, and but yes, I absolutely love this book. I've read it at least a few times. I can't really off the top of my head, I don't know. I wasn't like a profound reader when I was younger. I was very distracted and big into video games and stuff when I was younger. So I know I've read this at least this probably my third or fourth time, but I'm excited to dive into it. I've already done the entire first chapter, and as I read this book, let me tell you, I am amazed at how much I relate to Bilbo Baggins these days. I don't know if it's because I'm in my 30s, I'm a little older, and I'm just like, oh wow, Bilbo, yeah, yeah, I kind of feel you, my dude. Just that whole like wanting to be polite but also being really annoyed about people, or just like, it's so funny. He's trying to be so polite to the dwarves, but also they're on his last nerve in the most like kind way possible. Oh, I love Bilbo, and he's so awkward, and I love him so much. The one thing I will say that I like better about the book than the movie, and I have a lot of complaints about the movie, I could make an entire about the movies I could make an entire video about the Hobbit movies, and mayhaps one day I shall. Um, but in the movie, and I know movies have to do things differently. They can't be as prolonged as a chapter in Tolkien's book. But instantly, as soon as the dwarves start coming in, like Bilbo is already harried and stressed out and like not into this whole thing. Whereas in the book, it actually takes quite a build up for him. Like for the first few dwarves, he's very polite. He's like, "Oh, you want some bread? Do you want some?" He's like, "Oh, I'll have beer." And he's like, "Oh, I have beer. Let me go get you beer." Like he's very polite until it's like, the last batch of dwarves, and then he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna lose my mind. Why do they keep coming?" Kind of a thing. So I liked how he starts out super polite, and it's like a slow motion moving into him being super stressed out. Whereas in the movie, he kind of starts stressed out, in my opinion. So anyway, just a fun little difference. Having not read this in a while and having seen the movies very recently, I'm very excited to like make comparisons. And I'm sure I will love this even more because as much as I enjoy, and I do love watching the Hobbit movies, I kind of there it's a good time, and I love a lot of the visuals. And Lee Pace as Thranduil, chef's kiss. Okay, mwah. Actually, all of the casting was really chef's kiss. It was very good, but I have a lot of problems. It's just it's so stupid. Not like 50% of the time it's stupid, 50% of the time it's really entertaining, and well, maybe that's not the best. Anyway, it's good. It's just not great, especially if you compare it to the Lord of the Rings. Like, please, blows it out of the water. Anyway, I have other books to see, but this, I love this. Okay. And then I picked up this Out of the Silent Planet by C.S. Lewis. So I recently read a book called A Hobbit, a Wardrobe, and a Great War. And it was a book about Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and how World War One and them being involved in World War One affected their views and their faith and their friendship. And first of all, fantastic book. It was a 5-star book for me. I would encourage anybody who is a fan of Tolkien and Lewis to pick it up, especially if you're a fan of history, because it goes into a lot of the history of the World War, which I didn't know a lot. I know a lot about World War II. I didn't know a lot about World War One, and it was absolutely fascinating. Especially for like the climate at the time, like with how people were, like the vibes of the time. So fascinating. I loved it every minute. And there was a lot of course, correlations with what they had been through and what they ended up writing. And so this book was mentioned. It's so small. I had no idea it would be this small. This book was mentioned quite a few times in comparing some things. And I was just fascinated by it. And I wanted to pick it up and start to read it. I know it's a trilogy, so I only picked up the first book. My brother said that people either really love this book or really hate this book. I don't. I've never read it. The only thing of C.S. Lewis that I've read is the Screw Tape Letters, which I love. Another 5-star. Please pick up the Screw Tape Letters. And of course, the Chronicles of Narnia. Though it's been many years since I've read the Chronicles of Narnia, and I need a reread. But I'm very excited to see what happens with Out of the Silent Planet. I know that J.R. Tolkien was very, you know, he acclaimed this book a lot. He loved this trilogy and was very fascinated by it. And I know in the book that I read, it mentioned that C.S. Lewis actually wrote this in response to a student that he had that said that basically space travel and traveling to other planets and colonizing other planets was going to be the way to save the human race. And C.S. Lewis saw that as a way for man foolishly trying to escape death, which is inevitable. And so I guess this book kind of came out of that conversations that happened with that student. I'm sure there was a lot more that brought about this, but I'm really curious to see because I love how he combines the Christian faith with unique storytelling. And I always love the Chronicles of Narnia, so I'm excited to see how this goes. And it's going to be a quick read, so I'm really excited about that. More Lewis, so excited. And yes. And then I got Red Rising. I got this on sale, thankfully, because it has like a gash out of it, but it was the only copy on the shelf, and I was like, I really want to read Red Rising. I've heard a lot of good things about this book recently. A book reviewer on YouTube that I really like, named Natalie Hoover. I don't know if you've heard of her. Please check her out. She's awesome. She reviews this book and the other books in the series quite a bit, and she says that this is one of her top favorite books of all time. And I guess the idea of it is it's kind of like the Hunger Games, but everybody's on Mars. So we just talked about we shouldn't be on other planets, but now this one, they're already made it. So, there's like a system of oppression that's in place, and our main character is a red, which is the lowest, like category that a person can be, golds being the highest category a person can be. So everybody got categorized. That never ends well. So it's a dystopian future, right? It never ends well when people start getting categorized by districts or by colors or by whatever, right? But most young adult books have this in there. And so he ends up, Red Rising, ends up wanting to fight the oppression because he learns that things aren't really what they seem. We'll just put it that way. I know a little bit more about it, but I'll let you guys know. I want to be able to kind of read through it some and then give a proper review of it. But yeah, it seems like it's going to be cool. I know I almost picked it up like a few years ago, and then I was like, I don't know. I don't really know anything about it, so I'm not going to do it. And then I heard a lot of good things, and it's kind of one of those ones going under the radar. So I decided I'd pick it up and check it out myself. And it doesn't seem like it's going to be a super long read, so I'm sure being a young adult book, I'll be able to get through it pretty quickly. I almost picked up Christopher Paolini's space one. He actually has two space books. Oh gosh, what is it called? In a Sea of Stars or something like that. Oh, something like that. I almost picked that up, but that book is enormous and it really intimidated me that I would ever be able to get through it. So I was like, you know what? We're going to pick this one up at the library instead, so that just in case, because I don't want to buy a book that big and then be like, oh, I don't like this. Like, that would be sad. This, I think I will automatically like, because of the themes that are in it. And if it's anything like The Hunger Games, I really love The Hunger Games. So, um, yes. So Red Rising, I'm really excited. I'm sure I'll be talking to you guys about that. And then one last book that I got. I really enjoy manga, but I haven't actually read manga in a long time. The only one that I really read is Spy Family, because it's really fun. I think that's the only one that I've even recently purchased. Maybe not. There might be another one. But I'm pretty picky about my manga because I don't like anything that is spicy. I don't obviously do any spiciness, and I don't like anything that's kind of creepy or weird. And a lot of them can verge on that if you're not careful. I used to be into that a lot when I was younger, and but since then, that's not a thing for me anymore. As a Christian, that's just my belief and my conviction. So it's a no-go for me. So I'm very cautious about which ones I picked up. But I saw the premise of this one, Frieren. I don't know how you pronounce it. Beyond Journey's End. And the premise, actually, it's right on the back, so I'll just read it to you guys. It says, Elf mage Frieren and her courageous fellow adventurers have defeated the Demon King and brought peace to the land. But Frieren will long outlive the rest of her former party. How will she come to understand what life means to the people around her? Decades after their victory, the funeral of one of her friends confronts Frieren with her own near immortality. Frieren sets out to fulfill the last wishes of her comrades and finds herself beginning a new adventure. And to me, that just sounds so tragic. And it reminded me of aspects that I really loved in The Lord of the Rings, which was, like Arwen and Aragorn's relationship and how she was going to have to give up her immortality lest she watch her husband die and her live on forever. And there's other stories like that in The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion where elves or half elves are faced with their immortality, but they love mortals. And I just love that so much. Like, it's so sad, it's so tragic, but it's also really beautiful. And so when I, heard that that's kind of what this story was about, that's Frieren right there. I was like, oh, that is exactly the theme that I absolutely love. So even though it's obviously going to be really sad and really tragic, I'm curious to see how they handle this story and how Frieren handles her losses. And I think it could be a really beautiful story of how to handle grief um, and just, friendship and things like that. Anyway, I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm really curious, and it'll be a quick read for me. I get through manga very, very quickly. So, and that one I bought for myself. That was my birthday. But anyway, so I've got quite the good stack of fun books to read. Oh, all of a different kind. Lots of different vibes here. We've got dystopian, fantasy, uh, kind of dystopian sci-fi, I guess more sci-fi. And of course, we have high fantasy with The Hobbit. So I'm really excited to see how these books go. Have you guys read any of these books? Are there any that you would want to see me read? Do you want to read any of these books? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts about these books or about books that you've been reading recently. I think that's all I have for today. I'm excited. I'm sure I will be reviewing these in the future. And I would do a review of The Hobbit a Hobbit, a wardrobe, and a Great War, but unfortunately I borrowed that book from a friend and I really wanted to get it back to him. So I already got it back to him. Otherwise I would have it right here. Eventually I'm going to buy my own copy so I can do a proper review, but it is by Joseph LoConte, I want to say. And it's a great book. If you can get your hands on it, I think you would, especially if you like history and J.R. Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, you will love it. It's absolutely fantastic. It's really interesting and just really factual. And I love facts and I love history and I love Tolkien and Lewis. So, yeah, feel free to pick that up. It certainly encouraged me to learn more about them and also to read more of their works. Though I've read most of Tolkien's, it's more C.S. Lewis that I want to read more up on. And also, it talked a lot about how C.S. Lewis came to faith because he was an atheist for many years, for most of his life. And Tolkien had a strong hand in that. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And really, the one thing that brought them together and brought his faith into reality were the myths and legends that him and Tolkien both loved to read about. And how, for years C.S. Lewis saw the Bible as just a bunch of myths and myths and legends aren't true, or at least in his opinion, right? And I mean, for the most part, yeah. But Tolkien was able to convince him that, okay, this is like a myth and legend, but it's real. We really lived it. Like it was a real live legend. And, and that just clicked with Lewis that legends can happen in this world. Myths can happen in this world. And it did happen in the case of Jesus Christ coming to earth, being born into this earth through a Virgin Mary. And then, of course, living and then dying for our sins. And because of his love of myths and legends, it clicked with his heart. God used that, which is so cool to see. He used that love of myths and legends to click with C.S. Lewis's heart. And he used Tolkien's own love and his own understanding already of how myths and legends are like humanity's way of trying to achieve or understand these higher things, right? But of course, they missed the mark. But with the Bible, because it was written by God through men, it's absolutely and perfectly true. And for Lewis, for Tolkien, that always made sense. And he was able to share that with Lewis in a way that made sense to him. Isn't that so cool how God works? Anyway, oh my gosh, I'm winded from talking so much. That is going to be that. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's not my normal, but it's not like a specific book chat or anything chat, but just my book haul, I guess. I don't usually do hauls like this because I am not a haul person. I just buy, like I said, this was literally just for my birthday. I actually use the library more than I buy my own books, unless I can't find it at the library and I know I'm gonna love it, because I don't buy a book unless I know I'm gonna love it. So, although I guess in the case of Lewis, I don't know if I'm gonna love that book, but I think I will. From the premise, it sounds like something I'm gonna love. So, all that being said, don't expect any more hauls unless, somehow somebody gifts me a lot of books, which I can't imagine that happening. So, that being said, remember, Jesus loves you so much, and I love you too, but Jesus loves you more. And I hope you guys have a great day. All right, bye.